Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review slash overview to share with you guys. This is a prototype Koenig Mini Arius. Wow, cool. A mini one, right? I think we all knew that was coming. I mean, mainly because they said that it was, right? This is a prototype. The actual production version will vary anywhere from slightly to in a major way. I don't know. I actually reached out to Koenig knives to kind of understand, pricing and where that was all going to be. They haven't actually definitively come to a conclusion on what the production, what the price and the production version of this knife will be. This was a prototype, and the table price for these when they showed them at the recent, it was one of the recent shows, was much higher. But that's not important because this is a prototype. This was sent in by Amateur Knives on Instagram. Please give him a follow. It's because of people like him that I'm able to bring you guys daily knife content. It's also because of my generous patrons. Thanks for supporting me. There's a link for Patreon right down below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. So anyways, yeah, keep in mind, this is a prototype. So I say review and overview, right? I'm really just going to be talking about the prototype and making guesses on things that they might do when the production version comes. None of what I'm going to say is absolutely official because I don't work for or with the Koenigs. I just have this prototype Mini Arius that was sent to me by a kind viewer, not gifted to me. This will go back to the owner once I'm done with it. That's the case with 99% of the knives that I receive on this channel. So sorry about that. My daughter is absolutely throwing a fit right now somewhere. Anyways, let's go ahead and get a measurement on this knife. Overall length of the Mini Arius prototype. Again, production version might change. Overall length coming in about 7¼ inches. Blade length coming in, I'm going to call that, if you measure it in the right place, it's definitely over 3. But back here, you could call it 3 or perhaps slightly less than 3, right? Where the curvature of the candle, I'm filming this with a candle. The curvature of the camera angle might be causing this to display differently than I'm seeing it. But anyways, cutting edge, 2.75 inches. How about some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2? You can see here that it's about the same overall length as the Rat Model 2. Let's do some more here. Up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. A little shorter than the Spyderco Para 3. Is that the case, though? I thought the Para 3 was 7¼ also. Is it 7½? No, it's 7¼ Is this guy also 7¼ Yeah. Why does it look like these two are different sizes? Well, I'm just stupid. They're the same size. I know you can't see. We're gonna hold it in a way where it actually displays correctly. Angle it towards the camera. Does that make a? Is that showing correctly? Right. Okay. So this is a Para 3 sized Koenig Arius. What about up against a full size Arius? I don't own one. Why? I don't know. I'm kind of waiting for the right one to come along. I like the knife. I just waiting for the right one. Also, they're freaking expensive and hard to get. That's the main reason, right? Not Koenig's fault, right? It's not like they can pump out 10,000 of these whenever they want to. Up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and the Benchmade Bug-Out. You can see here it is shorter than the Bug-Out and the Ritter Hogue. I wouldn't call this a tiny knife, though. Not at 7¼ inches. I'd still call it, that's still medium territory. Let's go ahead and do a, well, I'll tell you what. I'm not going to touch this with my tools because it's a prototype, and I'm just not going to. That pivot appears to be a T8, and these down here appear to be smaller. Perhaps they are still a T. Let's hold it up against something that is definitely also a T8 and take a look. No, you know what? I think those are the same size. The head is larger on the Spyderco, but the actual bit size that's going to go in there, I think that's all T8. I think this is using all T8 hardware, which is pretty cool. The pocket clip screw, I have no idea. That's going to be hidden inside here And it might be a T6, right? I don't know, whatever. I give pocket clips a pass for T6. I wish they were all T8, but they're not. Wow, look at that action. Is the action on the Mini as good as the full size? Yup. Blade stock thickness, sure. The calipers are taped, so we'll go ahead and measure blade stock thickness. I think people will want to know. Let's find the thickest part of the blade. Okay. Blade stock thickness coming in at about 100, and it says 133. It's probably 135 thousandths. It's kind of what I expected. What else? Weight. So this particular one is not milled. Now, again, I can't say this for sure. Sorry, flashlight magnets picking up a whole bunch of stuff in there. This one is not milled at all. There's no milling in there. I am fairly certain, since they have done milling on the larger one, I'm fairly certain that they would mill this out in the production version, but I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. Let's go ahead and weigh it. Titanium, and I can only assume M390. Truthfully, I didn't ask Amateur Knives what the blade steel was on this guy, and I don't know that they printed it on the prototypes. I'm going to guess M390. It wouldn't surprise me if Koenig Knives messed around with M398, S45VN, MagnaCut. I don't know. If they do a version of it in plain old M390, old boring old M390. Listen, M390 is still a great steel, and there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, any of that stuff, right? That would be my guess. Weight. This guy's coming in at 3.53 ounces. If they mill it out, it's obviously going to be less. I don't know how much. You can't put too much stock into this. Even if they don't mill it out, it's 3.5 ounces, half an ounce away from what I consider to be ultra lightweight. Do with that information what you will. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about this knife here. Yeah, this is a Koenig Arius, but it's smaller. All of the legendary fit and finish and machine work. I mean, guys, this is one of the most precision-made production knives that has ever come out of the United States. The Koenig knives are just ridiculous. Absolutely. I have handled very few knives that match or exceed. In fact, I mean, exceed is a hard thing to define, right? Handled very few things that match the quality of a Koenig knife, right? They're so expensive. Are they really that much better than my titanium and M390 yada, yada, yada that I bought for $200? Yes. I mean, yes and no. It depends on where your value system is. Do they feel different? Do they act different? Do they function? Like, do they function different? Do they cut? I mean, well, anything that's even remotely sharp is going to cut, right? That's a silly argument. We're in knife enthusiast territory. If you didn't know that, welcome. You're in knife enthusiast territory. There are people here who won't blink at spending $500, $1,000, $5,000 on pocket knives, and no amount of complaining in my comment section is going to change that. But feel free to waste your time. It's down there. Anyways, yeah, these are really, really expensive. There are not too many things in that territory that I can go, yeah, I can definitely see this being, because, like, you know, I remember the cheapest that I ever saw, the Koenig Arius, that I ever saw. It was like $550. And I remember seeing that and going, yeah, no problem, right? Even at $600, I think they bumped it now. It's $600, yeah. You know, it's really hard because like a Hinder XM18 with a titanium scale is using the same materials. And I have bought many of those and put tie scales on them and put $625 into a Hinder knife. Do I think they're worth that much? No, I'm just a Hinder nut, so I'm willing to kind of overpay for them because I just really like how they look and how they feel. But the Koenig Arius, right? And again, I'm no slight against Hinder. Koenig Arius is pretty, like, it's hard to argue about the quality of the machine work. I'm not saying that the XM18 is a less dependable knife, right? And I'm also not saying that the amount of machine work and milling and just attention to detail, it adds some sort of level of utility that I can put my finger on, because it really doesn't. It's just to the satisfaction of the buyer. But this is on a different level. And people like me will pay more money for that, right? And it does factually cost them more money to do things like this than not doing it, right? To get the tolerances exactly right. Do the beautiful milling and the polishing and the bowling on the hardware and get it to be that sort of D-shaped pivot, right? And all this work that they do back here with the backspacer and the pocket clip and all of that. It's really, really nice. The action is just stupidly good. Stupidly good, right? If the production version of this has exactly the same action, I'm more than satisfied. If it somehow achieves better action, I don't understand. But wow, right? Flipper tab works. The detent's great. It feels, pretty easy to do. I mean, even pushing on the lock bar a little bit on these, I'm going to intentionally put pressure on that. Yeah, they flip no matter what. And, because there's that opening hole there, that little groove, it makes it really, really easy. So on a little knife like this, can you get a full 4-finger purchase? Surprisingly, yeah, honestly, I really can. I wear an XL glove. That doesn't mean I have an XL hand, right? Sorry to smash the dreams of other people watching this video who also wear an XL glove and have always assumed their hands are truly XL size. Nah, we're not special, guys. Our hands are pretty normal. If you have truly XL hands, and I mean you monsters out there, right? Whoever you are, those of you who wear like 2XL, 3XL, or you can't wear gloves because your hands are so massive, it's not going to fit. Your hand's not going to fit. If you're like me, or you got a smaller hand than me, then yeah, you can get a full 4-finger grip on this guy. But it's kind of the same. I feel the same way about this that I do about the 3-inch XM18. Don't put a flipper tab on it. Just don't. Remove it. I've seen, thanks to Dr. Frunke and I think a handful of other people, I've seen non-flipper versions of the full-size Arius, and my God, is that a well-designed knife. Talk about hand-melting perfection. Ease of manipulation, capped out, maxed out. Yeah, on a smaller one, the flipper tab makes, on the larger one, the flipper tab's fine because you still have plenty of room. It's like, well, I don't need it. On the smaller one, it allows you, breathing room for your hands and the ability to choke up a little bit because they would turn this whole area into a forward choil, which works really well with this knife. Non-flipper mini Arius is about as perfect as you could get for those of you who like to carry smaller knives. This is ridiculous. And I'm going to guess that they're going to do lots of different milling patterns. They're going to do different anno stuff. They're going to do wild and crazy this or that and have the crazy clips. And they're going to do the blades with the, they'll do the DLC and they'll do the, maybe they'll make some special ones in Damasteel or Damacore. I don't know, whatever. It's the same type of stuff that you see, the progression that you see with a lot of these expensive knives. I don't know. They'll have the satin finish. Maybe, do they do a satin finish? I love their tumbled finish. This just looks great. It's beautiful. There'll be many variants, is what I'm saying. There's really not much that I expect to change. Like this prototype is just really good, and it's the same type of good that we get with the full size one, right? The fuller is nice, easy to manipulate. I like how it says Koenig right there. I don't know, all of this. This feels hollow ground, which is crazy. It's so thin and razory it's such a nasty, like ready to slice blade profile. That's just ridiculous. That thing's gonna cut. It's gonna make really, really short work. It's all like, we know, right? The Arius blade profile, and that combined with the fact that the Koenigs know what they're doing. Is it a father and son thing, or is Bill a single entity? I always forget. I'm sorry. I need to, would be a lot more respectful to the maker to know that for sure. It's just there's a lot of information flying around in my head and I don't always get it correct. Anyways, this area is all nicely knocked down. The edge is absolute perfection. There's no inconsistencies in the final cutting bevel. There's no awkward smile at the back. There's no weirdness out of the tip. Sometimes you get out to the tip and like that bevel is just goofy on one side. Nope, that's perfect. Yeah, this is one of those knives. It's kind of like with Shirogorov. It doesn't look like it was, something that was even conceived by a human being. It looks like this was the product of artificial intelligence from the point of conception all the way through to production, right? which is a good, I mean, that's a compliment. This is as smooth and as perfect of an action as you could possibly want. It is smooth and, you know, not in a dependent fully on gravity type of thing, right? And not in a, oh, the pivot's just kind of loose, right? Because it's actually wobbly. No, this thing is solid, 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 solid. I'm not a huge fan of this milling pattern, but again, I don't know how much I want to critique that because it's going to change, right? The screws, everything looks great. I really like the pivot. I hope they never change that. The backspacer, fine. The lanyard thing, it's here and it's not taking priority over the pocket clip. But you do have a decent amount of this knife sticking up out of your pocket, and just the percentage versus what's in your pocket, I think that's emphasized. There's a greater emphasis because this is a smaller version, right? With the Arius, it didn't feel quite so intense, that's not the right word. Well, you get what I'm saying. It wasn't quite so much, right? Because the percentage of knife sticking up out of your pocket was less, right? The same mounting position. I imagine the pocket clip's a little bigger, but the knife was bigger, right? I don't know. It's not the worst. It's just how the design all comes together. I'm talking about a design that flows, right? Love or hate the Arius in whatever form, the mini or the full size. This is a design that flows. Everything on this knife, all of the aesthetic lines and the pocket clip and everything like that, everything looks like it belongs, right? Even this milling pattern, I really don't like this milling pattern, but gosh, it goes with the knife, right? I don't know. Koenig knows what they're doing when it comes to, you know, making all of this work together, making this whole design. It kind of, the whole thing looks like a Hornet to me, kind of. Really beautiful, very functional, very precision made. This is something that is, you know, just mega above and beyond precision, just because it's like, well, we can do it. Did this need to be created? Well, no. I mean, but that's the name of the game in the enthusiast knife world, right? They went above and beyond because they could. On top of that, you don't lose any function whatsoever for the sake of this, you know, I mean, this is eye of the beholder, but this aesthetic beauty and just how impressive it is to go to this level when it comes to precision machining. This is still ridiculously utilitarian. I still maintain I'd like to see some jimping up here. A lot of people argue with me on that. No, I want to see jimping. It's fine. You disagree with me if you want. I love that the stop pins are internal, attached to the blade, so they're bracing on either side to the titanium frame. I think that's great. I love the pocket clip. I mean, despite the depth, the pocket clip design is really, really good. Nice and short and flat, rounded off, right? So there's no hot spot whatsoever. Steel lock bar insert doubling as the over travel stop. Great detent click, perfectly centered. No pivot lash. No blade play up, down, left, or right. Easy disengagement. No double clutch. Easy access to the frame lock. It's raised just a little bit there and jimped, however you like to say that. Ridiculous action. Very cool. What's my guess for production price? Probably $600. I hope it's not above $700, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was above $600. I'd be pumped if they only wanted $500 for these. That's my guess. I don't know. I don't have any inside information. I literally have nothing. I'm just guessing. I'm shooting in the dark, right? There's not a lot that can stand up to the Arius because, guys, we're getting Shirogorov level quality with this stuff. And even if they do bump the price, they're still way under Shirogorov. I am a Shirogorov fan. And I've said, yeah, the Shirogorov's worth it. You know, but it's like, it's hard because I really like the designs. And sometimes Shirogorov does extra weird little things, right? Some of their machine work to me appears maybe not like it's more expensive, but it's more, I don't want to say more complicated, it's just more appealing to me, and so therefore I label it as more complicated in the moment in the middle of a review, right? This is more of like me reviewing myself or critiquing myself. But again, it's really hard to like give you an example of something that is in the same price territory as, let's say, the full-size Arius, which is probably about $600 right now at base price, right? You're not going to get a fancy one. You're going to get a plain one for $600, right? Ask me what's seriously in direct competition with the Koenig Arius around that general territory. Nothing. Nothing. You got to go, I mean, like, it's like you could say, well, Hinderer, well, that's, you know, it's less, but it's also nowhere near as complicated or polished. Worth the price that Rick Hinderer is asking for it, right? But yeah, not in the same territory. Same with the Chris Reeve knives, right? Some of the, you know, like some of Les George's stuff, right? People say, well, Medford. So Medford's, they're just different knives. I have no idea what it costs to create the average Medford, but if you were to ask me, and this is nothing against Medford, right? But if you were to ask me which is more complicated, which looks to have more precision machine work, right? Well, yeah, the Arius, right? So value system, right? I would also say, I think it's, I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but I would guess that the Arius probably costs more to make than your average $600 Medford, right? Medfords are all over the place. They have knives that cost less than that, and they've got lots of knives that cost more, right? But yeah, if you're big into like precision and your tolerance is all being so impossibly good, just above like anything you've ever experienced, the Koenig Arius is really, it really does hold up to that legendary status, right? A small one, milled, with no flipper tab, would be just about perfect. Again, I have no idea where they're gonna be at it with price. This is impressive. The prototype is really impressive. I think people are gonna go nuts for this, and I don't think you need me to tell you that these are gonna be one of those knives that, you know, when they finally do hit retailers, they'll be gone in like 1 second, right? People are like, so why do you review this stuff? Because I like to look at this stuff. It's fun. It is, truthfully. If, you know, I like looking at common production stuff that everybody can get, but I also like to get my hands on things that not everybody can get so that I can handle it and experience it and give you guys my thoughts. You know, while the vast majority of people in here are either don't want to buy knives that are this expensive or won't have the opportunity to because they're really, really scarce, there are people in here who will want to watch this, get some perspective, even if they disagree with some of it, get that information so that they can decide for themselves whether or not they actually want to invest time in hunting one of these down. So for you people, I imagine you're here at the end, right? I do this partially for me and partially for you. In any case, I hope everybody who made it to the end of this video was at least mildly entertained. Thank you again to Amateur Knives on Instagram for letting me take a look at this. I know that there are not many of these out there right now, so I really appreciate that. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.